When you're looking to buy a business, what do you think are like the non-negotiable things that are maybe a little bit less obvious?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a core business model that works, right? So we're not
Okay.
buying things that need to be
Yeah.
proven.
Yeah.
And by the way, there are some private equity-ish firms that will take flyers on things. I mean, I don't know how many scooter businesses that we saw over a 2-year period, but there was a lot of like money sloshing around in like the, you know, making scooters, renting scooters, doing fleets of scooters. I mean, there was this whole like scooter
Okay.
rush.
Interesting. Okay.
And we saw a bunch of these businesses that were like, you know, they'd
Well,
gone
I
from
presume you're
making
buying
like,
businesses that have been around for a while in general, right? So you're not buying a
absolutely.
fad. If something's only been around for 2 years, it's hard to know how it's going to appear. Where if it's been around for 20 years, it's a little bit more predictable.
Yeah, but I'll give you the exception to that. So like on the scooter business, like, you know, obviously there's a whole VC crush on the front end to a bunch of these, right?
Yep.
The, you know, scooters were going to be the next everything. And but what that actually created was a cascading downward effect. And what you maybe didn't realize is even in the small business world that we're in, we saw scooter deals. We saw scooter deals of scooter companies that were, you know, they were previously making something else for a long time. They added the scooter, you know,
Or they're
market. And
servicing
or they're
things or
servicing
whatever.
scooters,
Yeah.
or they're making the parts that go into scooters or whatever the thing may be. And so we saw companies that were, you know, they were making $500,000 5 years ago. They made $1 million. Then all of a sudden they made 4 million, 7 million, $12 million. And right, they're
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
sell these companies. And so what we would say is that's a business model that's still unproven. So anyway, first one, proven core business model that works, people we can work with. I would say size is meaningful for us. So we see a lot of deals these days that, I mean, frankly, just the size that we're at, we just can't do. You know, there was a date and time. The first deal I ever did was a sub $500,000 a year free cash flow deal. It just doesn't work for us anymore to buy those types of businesses unless they're very on the higher growth end and we have a specific purpose for them.
Or one of your businesses buying those businesses or something
Correct.
like
As a
that.
bolt-on. Yeah. But
Yeah.
as a standalone business, it doesn't make sense for us. And then this is one that's maybe obvious, maybe not, is a seller that's willing and able. We have a lot of businesses that we look at where the seller is just playing around, that they want to kind of like feel good about their business. They're bored with their business. So they go out and like, they're like, oh, I'll see who wants to potentially, you know, flirt with me.
Yeah.
Those are the worst. So we like to have somebody who's serious about wanting to do something, and that there's some event that's sort of forcing them to move forward in some way.
On the flip side, what do you think some buyers would say are like huge weaknesses that you can overlook?
Let's see here. I would say non-recurring revenue is a big one. So most buyers in private equity love non-recurring revenue. They are they're excited about that as a category. And I mean, look, for very good reason. The predictability of recurring revenue, all things told, is better. It's more predictable. I would say that we are much more comfortable that if the business model itself is predictable overall. So I'll give you an example of this. You know, we own a pool business in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
It's an oven. Like swimming is not a luxury; it's a utility out there, right? Like some of the homes that we put pools into are like, you know, the pool is 50% of the home value, right? I mean, these are like necessary things.
Yeah.
Once you sell a pool, it's not like you're selling a recurring revenue pool every year, right? You build it and it's one and done, but the predictability of the demand for the pools is constant. So I think there's people oftentimes will look at something like that and say, oh, well, there's no predictable recurring revenue there, even though the revenue is fairly stable over a very long period of time. Another one that I would say,
the restaurants don't have like recurring revenue.
Right.
Most businesses, most businesses don't have, even investment banks don't have recurring revenue, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I would say, I mean, maybe the other one that we are able to get much more comfortable with is just general lack of professionalization. And maybe this is from, you know, we didn't
like
start
it's just like the old, it's still on some old QuickBooks thing somewhere. And
man, you would be shocked. We've looked at deals where, frankly, the people who've been running it for a long time don't understand basic accounting. And so their books are just wrong. And we come in and we ask basic questions and they're like, oh, shoot, we shouldn't have been subtracting inventory. That's like, we should be capitalizing that. And we're like, yes, that's called tax fraud. And they're like, oh, sorry about that. You know, well, yeah, our books historically aren't correct anymore, right? Or you come in and like, when was the last time you did a count on your inventory? We've never done a count on our inventory. Well, how do you know if it's there or not. Well, we sell it and then we just go back to the warehouse. And if it's not there, then we tell people, sorry, it's not there. It's like, great. Like, how do you value that business? So, I mean, there's ways that you can get around these things, but I think most people want, I mean, like I would say a down the middle private equity deal is, a professionalized team that's used to working with professional money.
Yeah.
They have repeatable systems in place already. It's built to scale. Everything's kind of teed up, tied with a bow, and you're just going to pay for it. And again, we talk about this as a team a lot. Every negative about a business, if you solve it, if you buy it at the right price, every negative becomes a positive, because when you solve it, the business becomes more valuable. It's not just about the quantity of earnings, it's also about the quality of the earnings as well.
How does one go about like building some sort of repeatable motion to find engage with a ton of these small businesses?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the difficult part about building a firm. I mean, as I like to say, buying one company is brutally difficult. Like if I was going to start from scratch, even knowing what I know now, I would budget 3 years to find the right opportunity and close it. And then you've got to run that opportunity. You've got to cash flow it, or some people sell it, and then you got to start over again. It requires, how do you find finding good people and building repeatable systems. And I would say that, probably the thing that's most enabled our success is the fact that we were capital constrained and resource constrained for a very long time. I mean, we toiled away in obscurity, kind of honing our craft for the better part of a decade before we took on outside capital. And, at the time it felt slow and monotonous. The years would go by and you'd say, golly, we didn't do a deal again this year. Didn't feel like we were making much progress. But what we were doing is we were building culture, we were building systems, we were building relationships. And so I think that's just the hard work that it takes to, build a firm.